Hey guys, this is Robert Dailey with the Recreational Woodworker, and this is my customized Paulk workbench. Over the last several videos, I've showed you building this bench, the mobile base I built for it, but I realized that some of you might not want to watch the full build series. You might just want to see kind of an overview of it. And so that's the goal of my video today, to tell you about this bench, why I built it the way I did, and some of the customizations that I did for it. But before we get started today, it's time for a word from our sponsor, which is the recreationalwoodworker.com. I started the Recreational Woodworker to share a love of woodworking and a love of teaching to help people build great furniture. So whether you are a novice at the very beginning or if you're a veteran woodworker with all the right tools, there's something there for everybody. But we are geared to people just getting started in their woodworking journey and beginners, because I want to help people enjoy an awesome hobby and skill. Alright, back to our video. So why did I build this workbench? I built this workbench mainly because I have followed Ron Paulk for a long time. I've got a lot of respect for him and what he does. And this is actually my third Paulk workbench. If you look right here, this is my miter saw stand. This is my second Paulk total station that I built. I built one right as I got into woodworking. It sucked. The quality wasn't there. This one was a lot better. I just updated it, put a new top on it, painted it, fixed a few spots with some Bondo that had got beat up from use. I like it because it's portable. Now you're thinking, wow, this thing's on a mobile base. I mean, it can roll around your shop, but it's not portable. Well, that's not true. In fact, I have the Paulk design comes with sawhorses, much like these are sitting on right here. And I'm using them as sawhorses. Let me show you that real quick. So I'm using those as sawhorses. You can see right there, you can see I've got a bunch of 3/4 inch scrap that I'm about to use to make a lot of drawers. And that's just a really convenient way of storing some lumber. So why didn't I use those sawhorses? Well, in truth, I am. This is still portable. While it is mounted to this mobile base, it's just held on with a couple of screws to keep it stationary. I can remove those screws, pull off this bench as a single unit, and then set it up as a whole. The next thing I like about the Paulk workbench is storage. The storage options of the Paulk have a little bit of pros and cons. So as you see, the box itself is hollow. You can see all the way through. And the idea is when it's set on the sawhorses, you can store the tools that you're using on it at that time. For a great example of this is my tracks. I use my track, I lay it on my plywood, I make a cut. Now I'm done with it. I need this out of the way so I can quickly set the track under there. It's also great for storing things. Right now I'm storing my guide rails right there, keeping a couple of clamps in there, my jigs that need to get put away. And then of course, one very important part is my sacrificial strips. You can see that I've cut into them a lot. That prevents me from cutting into the top of my workbench. Another thing I like about this design workbench is the size of it. The plans that you can buy from Ron Paulk are all in metric. That's not a problem. You can buy this tape measure right here for about $10, $15. That is a metric and imperial guide, but just so you know that it is built, that's built 34 inches by just a little bit less than 72 inches. It's in a metric system, and there are even numbers there, but that's probably just what you want to know. So think 3x6. That's what size this workbench is. The old Paulk compact benches that were made in Imperial were done 3x6. This was just adjusted to fit the metric system. So why this size? Why didn't I do a big 4x8 or some other size? I think this is a good all-around size. Yes, I could have fit a 4x8 workbench in here. I considered it, but at the end of the day, a 3x6 is plenty big to support a full sheet of plywood, break it down easily, but it's small enough where I can reach everything on it at all times without walking too far. It's easy. It's one unit, so it's easy to move around. and it takes up a lot less physical space in my shop. So that brings me to my next point, is I did some unique things on my Paulk workbench. Not like super unique, like you're never going to see this anywhere else. I'm pretty sure this is an amalgamation of other ideas that I've gotten from other people. But here's kind of the unique things I did that's important for me, and I think it should be important for you in your shop. So like most people that are into woodworking, your table saw kind of becomes the hub of your shop. So for that reason, I made sure to make the height of my mobile base, the height of my sawhorses, and every workbench in my shop, my miter saw stand, that workbench in the corner, my new Paulk bench, my perfectly boring workbench, my table saw, are all exactly the same height. I got my math wrong when I built my mobile shop carts back there, and I need to go back and shorten those just a little bit. I have a video coming out in a few weeks that's literally just a time lapse of me working, spending the day in my shop building a big pantry, and you're gonna see in that video why it's so beneficial to have everything in your shop at the same height. I have that big pantry laid across two of my workbenches, and I go from these two workbenches to those two workbenches and back again, just laying it out, keeping it all at a comfortable working height, moving around my benches, etc. So keep that in mind when you build your workbenches, that as much as it's practical, you want things at the same height. Obviously, there's some things that you might really want at a separate height, but for your workbenches, find a height that's comfortable for you and then work around that. Most likely, it's going to be the height of your table saw, depending on your table saw you get, obviously. 34.5 inches is about where mine sits. I do wish it was just a little bit higher for me. I'm 5'10", just in case you're wondering. Now, when I built this to be primarily my track saw table. You see I've got my rails here, I've got my track saw right here in one of my modular cabinets. I kept it short so it's really easy to access and get to. And I kind of built this bench with that in mind, that I'm going to be using this for a lot of track saw plywood work and then a lot of sanding, finishing, and assembly. So it kind of does all those roles, and it does them all pretty well. Track saw is here in an easy to get to spot. I can easily grab it, pull it out, and when I'm done with it, I can just throw it back in there, and I can have the drawer mostly closed and still get to the saw. I keep my 39-inch track right here, because that's what I use the most after I do my cross cutting. If I'm coming in with, anything that's 24 inches or under, I can easily get that, and I keep a square attached to it. The next thing I have is I do have these TSO parallel guides, and I'll show you that in a second. Now, with any design, there's some give and take, right? Because I designed my modular cabinets before I built this, I had some issues that instead of it being a mistake and a problem, I turned it into a feature. So let me show you that now. My modular cabinets are 18 inches deep. Once I put the backs on, it makes it 18.5, so it gives me a total width of my cabinets of 37 inches. So what did I do there? I had this ledge. So I used that to my advantage. I just screwed on a cleat to hold my track. And then I realized once I had my parallel guides, you can see where they quickly disattach right there. I do have a review on these coming. Spoiler alert, they are great. You should definitely buy them if you have a track saw. So I built this super simple cleat to hold this track, which now allows me to hold these two tracks separately. They're easy to get at, easy to use, they're easy to put back out of the way, and it's just a super easy way of utilizing my track saw. And as you can see, they sit completely below my work surface, so that it's not interfering with anything. And if you've followed me for any length of time, you know the foundation of my shop is this modular cabinet system. There'll be a link to those videos below. I've already done a lot on them, so I shouldn't go into it at all. But you can see one drawer to rule them all, basically following the same philosophy as a sustainer of same footprint but different heights. And here I have my sanders all set up and organized where I can get to them quick and easy, and I have them laid out in basically the order I use stuff. So on this side is where I mostly work, so I have my track saw easy to get to. I have all my bench dogs and clamping elements. These are great. and you can see that right there, just things stored right there out of the way but still easy to get to. Sanders I use a lot. On my other side, I have an empty bin. A friend of mine is borrowing my domino right now. That lives right there. I don't use it every day, so this side's a little bit lower access. My router I don't use every day, so it's right there. And then I have some screws and hardware, miscellaneous things that are probably going to go to a different home eventually. But that's how I've laid out my bench. Now, one thing I wanted to do whenever I built this was I wanted to have a shop vac built into it, so I could just roll it around as like one complete unit, plug it in, have everything lined out. That didn't work because I couldn't find a vacuum that fit in there, and without it just being so small that I'd fill it up immediately. That's one of those things I'm actually glad didn't work out, because I ended up buying the Festool CT26, which you see right there. And this vacuum is a really good all-around size. I've got the hose there. You'll notice most of my stuff is Festool. And for the things that aren't, I have a remote right here that quickly turns the vacuum on and off. Having it off to the side like this works really well for the track saw, because obviously it doesn't fit here. So if I'm working over here, finish up a cut, I can just set the saw right there on that tray or set whatever tool I'm using. And now that I have this, I'm really wanting the boom arm and those add-ons that just make things a little bit better and do overarm, things like that. So I really actually like having the vacuum separate from the table, even though when I started I kind of wanted to integrate it in there. And like everything in my shop, I of course have it on some really high quality casters. These are 4-inch casters that lock in all directions from Rockler. They are a little pricey, but they're worth every penny because the quality is phenomenal. When they lock, it also locks the rotation, and that makes this, when you lock all 4, makes this workbench super strong and strong enough and stable enough for hand tool work. So that is something that I will do on all of my workbenches eventually. So that about wraps up my videos, but I want to know, what future mods should I make to this? I have a few in mind, but I'd love input from you, because frankly, some of the best ideas I've gotten have come from comments on my YouTube videos. So just to let you know, some things I plan on doing in the future are, I want to add a storage for my parallel guides on the side, and let me show you that real quick. I have this space right here on the sides, and so I could put some type of door there to hold my parallel guides and just the big things that don't fit in my modular system to clean out underneath a little bit. I also want to put some type of plywood lift here, basically seeing where you put a hinge and then you can set a piece of plywood on it and then tip it up in place really easy. Obviously, if I do those mods, it's not going to be portable anymore and it won't just come off as easy, but that's probably a sacrifice I'm willing to make, because I can always just make another one of these. And then a final thing I'm thinking of doing is, I forgot what it was. What is it? Oh yeah, some type of vise. I think I want to use the micro jig dovetail clamps and do some type of end vise on at least 2 sides of this to give me some clamping options for just different things. And again, that will remove the portability of this from being able to take it from one place to another, but that's a trade-off again I'm willing to make to get a little bit more efficiency. Alright guys, I hope you liked this video of an overview of my Paulk Smart Workbench. I hope you found it useful. Hope you got some ideas. If you want to see kind of the building of it and some of the things I did, especially the mobile base, I have videos in the playlist. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and I invite you to go to our Facebook group, The Recreational Woodworker. Join our community there, and we'll see you next time.